Hi, welcome to Fiberchats. My name is Irina. I'm the host here, and my guest today is Stacy Wiener. Hi, Stacy.
How are you doing? Thank you so much for interviewing me today.
Thank you. So you are the founder of S.A.C.K. Could you tell us what S.A.C.K stands for?
S.A.C.K stands for Supporting a Community with Kindness. Yeah.
And
And there's our logo, by the way.
so how did that happen? It wasn't your career like forever. It just started pretty recently, right?
Right. Yes, it was a little over 4 years. Previous to starting S.A.C.K, I was a college counselor for 30 years, where I helped high school students pick colleges and I helped them with their applications and essays. And while I was, as a college counselor, I was always knitting and crocheting items for donation, scarves and hats, and I also was donating them to, different Project Linus, different Salvation Army, different organizations. And I was also volunteering at a local food pantry. And we would always get clients that would come in. They would ask for soap and toiletry items. And more times than none, we really didn't have any because people generally don't think to donate toiletry items, essential items to food pantries. They donate food, which of course is important, but so are toiletry items. So I went and bought a bunch of soap, and I found a crocheted soap sack pattern on YouTube, and I tweaked it and brought a bunch in, and the response was so positive, overwhelmingly positive, and the clients were so thrilled to get it. And I'll show you some of the soap sacks, in a few minutes, different choices. And I've got in my car and I said, I think I have something here. And so that's kind of how it started. But it's really important to note, most people don't know that you cannot use food stamps, SNAP, any of those government subsidies to purchase toiletries. So oftentimes people in need, it's not necessarily homeless, it's just people in need, underserved, go without those items because they would have to pay for them with their own money. So that also made this mission so much more important.
So at the beginning, you just used to do it locally, right? In your local country?
In my county and in the neighboring county that's south of me. And that went on for a couple of months. I was recruiting some friends that knit and crochet. I was having some groups do soap drives for me to offset the cost, but it was really very local. And that's my mind, that's where I thought it was going to go. In my travels of vacations, I would donate locally. We were donate in those areas. We were visiting colleges with our son. I was going to donate in those areas, but I thought it would just be me doing a majority of the donating. And the newspaper, our local paper, wrote an article about me, and my old email address was in the article, and the article was out, and now I'm getting emails from people in other states. I remember getting somebody from Fargo, North Dakota. I was getting somebody from Minnesota, a bunch of people all over the United States asking me, can I do this in my own community? And I thought, why not? I'm never going to get to these places. Why wouldn't I want it to go nationally? And then it became international. But I said, absolutely. So that's when we made it a 501c3, trademarked the logo. And through the years, I've been interviewed on podcasts. I've had Crochet World write an article about me. I've done some TV shows, blogs. And as a result of that, knitting groups have interviewed me. It became international. And we have volunteers in Canada, Australia, Asia, Europe, as well as every state in the United States. How thrilling is that? Isn't that fabulous? And they're donating. A majority of them are donating them in their own communities to homeless shelters, food pantries, veteran clinics, LGBTQ organizations, social service agencies. But then there's a small population, maybe 10% of our volunteers, that send the sacks to me. And those are the ones that I donate each week. I try to donate about 150 a week, and I try to find places all over. So that's great. So volunteers have two options. Like I said, they can either donate them locally with a bar of soap or donate them to me without soap, and then I use the soap that I have here. They could be used as a washcloth because they're nice and soft. You could store your soap, They either have a loop, that's really one of our only requirements, is that it's cotton or cotton blend, a loop or a drawstring, and that's really it. Or more importantly, so if they don't store it and they don't use it as a washcloth, it's just a really nice gift pouch. So instead of handing it with the bar of soap, just like this, you put it in this here, and it's just like a really personal way of giving somebody soap. And that's really the real message here, is all about, dignity. For that moment, they feel loved because they know somebody made this. And that's really what we want people to know. Our cause is, we say, spreading kindness one sack at a time. And that's really what it is. It's kind to give soap, but it's really kind to put it in a crocheted, loomed, knitted, and then we have people that actually make them out of washcloths and they sew. Because some people say to me, I don't knit, crochet, or loom, but can I make them? Can I use, terry cloth fabric? And I'm like, absolutely. I mean, why not? We don't have a lot of rules. We always say we want our volunteers to just enjoy doing it, feel love, love of giving and love of making them.
Right. I mean, it also, when you come to a food pantry, right, it's by default, you in the vulnerable place in your life. And
100%.
So to have this handmade gift by somebody, it must mean just like this one extra special moment for you. It's like when people actually see you, people care for you, and people think about you,
Right. It's really it. And, it's really loving when you see what goes on, that the people are like, oh, my favorite color is red. Do you have any red ones? And we also try to personalize it. So if we donate them to, say, veterans, I mean, it's not required for our volunteers, but a lot of them do. Veterans will do a red, white, and blue one, or there's a lot of Christmas toiletry kits that they're doing now. And so people are making them in red, white, and green. Some people are doing them, they're striping them for the LGBTQ community. Then what I found, and I mean, these are knitted too, what I found, and this is really was eye-opening for me, is that I did not know in our travels of visiting colleges that most colleges have food pantries. And you think, okay, kids are off to college, don't they have a meal plan? Well, the meal plan that my son has at school, where he has unlimited amount of food, is not the norm. So oftentimes, these college students are only on a limited meal plan, so they go to the food pantry and they get food. So and they also have toiletries because they don't have the money to buy toiletries. So sometimes our volunteers are making them in school colors, like this is Syracuse color. So when you donate them to a college, it's nice to have them, in the school colors. And then this one's loomed. So you can see they're really pretty and people just love them. They love it, and the volunteers love making them because they're quick, very inexpensive. From $1 skein of yarn, you can make anywhere from 2 to 3 of them. So it's a very inexpensive way of giving back.
So you said you tweak the pattern. What's the progression of that pattern now? Is there multiple patterns that people can use?
Yes. Well, this was the original pattern. So that one is on our website. However, through the years, we've added on our website. We have a very, a really, really informative website where there are sample patterns, tag page. So there's template. There's a bunch of different options for tags and information. There's a donate page, an Amazon wish list. So the website is www.soapsacks.com. So there's plenty of patterns on the website. They're all free. So while some people continue to make the standard pattern, which is fine, others are doing much more elaborate ones. People are making, different crocheted and knitted ones. So yes, like this one is more, rectangular than the other one, which has, is increasing and decreasing at the bottom. But they're all very easy, though there are some volunteers. We have volunteer Petra, Zach from Florida, who makes the most elaborate ones. And I don't want people to think they have to do an elaborate one. I mean, she does brioche and she does tables. I mean, they're really masterpieces, but that is not the norm, but it's always, you know, obviously it's whatever people make, that if that makes her happy, then it makes us happy. You know, that's how it is. But they're just really fun. And, you know, it's so interesting, Irina, because when I started this, I kept thinking that the people receiving these are going to be the ones that are going to feel so good about getting it. I never imagined, number one, like the volunteers, they're feeling such a purpose. They feeling, especially with COVID, where people were just feeling low. This really gave them a mission, a focus, a passion to do something that was rewarding. And during COVID, the need for these soap sacks amped up so much, because as we know, more importantly than, you know, hand sanitizer was personal hygiene, to be clean. So the need has continued to be, keeps getting greater and greater. But the volunteers, we have this active Facebook community where we have over 9,000 Facebook followers, and they've become like friends, and they sharing patterns, sharing a sale that's on one of the, you know, the local yarn stores. And it's really, it's so rewarding in so many ways that I had never even envisioned.
It's also, I find that like especially in time of COVID, you so out of control. You have like no idea how to deal with it. It's something that's bigger than all of us. Obviously, it shut down the whole world. That when you do something that's in your control, when you feel like you're making difference in somebody's life, when you can create these things, when you can, you know, share your creativity, I feel like it's rewarding in its own, you know, in itself.
Yes, it's true. And I guess a lot of volunteers said to me that they also, because they were feeling so much anxiety and stress, they didn't want to do anything that was complicated, and they wanted to feel a sense of completion. So while of course it's important to make, you know, prayer shawls and all of that, I get that, that's very important. I don't want that to be my, you know, to tell you that it's not, but for them, the feedback was like, oh, you know, I'm going to make 5 soap sacks today. And then they felt good, they made 5. And I just also wanted to show you the different yarns, just so that people know that there's a lot of options. So there's like the Dishy yarn that's made by, oh my goodness, Dishy yarn is Knit Picks, and Sugar and Cream, which is Lily Sugar and Cream. And then this is the Hobby Lobby. I love this cotton, and Just Cotton, which is, you can find, it's made by Premier. And then there's another Premier one. So there's a lot of options. I mean, those are just some of them, but like I said, they just, as long as they're cotton or cotton blend. So I want to make sure, I wanted to see that, because some people were like, I'm using my really nice cotton Debbie Bliss yarn. I'm like, no. You don't have to use $10 skein of yarn. You can, but it's definitely not required at all.
It's also a perfect pattern for complete beginner. Like you can like learn how to knit with those patterns, or learn how to crochet with those patterns.
Yes, and that is true. And so people say to me, the patterns on the website, they seem too complicated for them because they are beginners. So I said to them, then you just make a rectangle, fold it in half, sew the sides, and put a loop, and that's it. You can use any pattern, any stitch, anything. I mean, how much easier could that be? You know, it's literally like starting a scarf, but only making it, you know, 7-8 inches, which is why there's a local high school that they're doing this as their community service project, smaller academy, and they're making them. I've had Girl Scouts make them. I mean, of course, we have a lot of other groups make them, but one of our volunteers was teaching the women in minimum security prison to make them, because there are really, if you're doing it as a rectangle and fold it in half, it's really it's easy, and yet once again rewarding, because you're completing the project. And I said, as long as there's a loop so that it can dry if they're using it as a washcloth, or to store the soap, or if they're living in a shelter, if they have a hook, they can hang it off the hook.
So what was the growth of the S.A.C.K? How many S.A.C.Ks did you contributed the first year, and where is it now?
You're going to be surprised on where it is now. I would say the first year, a couple of thousand. Majority of them, I would say probably no more than like 5,000 or 6,000, and majority of them were mine. But up to date, we're estimating, and the reason I say that is because I'm not really managing my volunteers. If they posted on Facebook about their contribution, or they're not on social media and they tell me about it, then that's great. But I don't require that, because I want them to have that full circle of making, donating, and getting that good feeling. If they report back to me, great. But like I said, I don't want it to be where they feel like they have to. So of the ones we definitely know about, we're up to 220,000. Can you believe that? Is that amazing? I can't even believe it as I'm saying it. It's really incredible. And the reason I say that there are some people that I have no idea what they're doing is because some people will just say to me, oh, by the way, they'll email me and say, by the way, I want to let you know that I've already donated 1,000 of them. And I had never seen their name ever on Instagram, Facebook at all. So that's what's really incredible to me, really incredible. And, I just can't even believe it, 220,000. And we've also partnered with Warm Up America. They're a huge promoter of S.A.C.K. Crafting Change Community, run by Tiffany Herbert, huge supporter. So there's and then there are these other groups that have partnered with me that they're making them. And so, the rainbow. So I don't really know what they're doing apart from, from me. We partnered, but then that organization is kind of managing it. So you could see how it could be significantly more than 220,000, which is crazy. And we've done it. I mean, I just had someone reach out to me from River Fund, Florida. They're in River Fund, Florida, Sebastian, Florida, and he is going to Uganda at the end of December. So he said, just send me the S.A.C.Ks. Obviously, shipping the soap would not be realistic. He'll purchase the soap when he's in Uganda. And so I donated a couple hundred S.A.Ks. So it's going to Uganda. We've donated them in Northern Kenya, different organizations, Cambodia. So they've gone all over. They're all over the world.
What's the plan? Like, what's your dream for this thing? Like, how far can you envision it?
How far? Well, people say to me, how many more years are you going to do this? Or is there a deadline for these? No deadline, no end date in sight. So when I plan to do this forever, I just love it. Being a college counselor was beyond rewarding, to place kids in colleges. This is rewarding in a whole different, way. In some ways, even more rewarding, because I feel like we're making a difference. It's a small act making a huge difference. So I envision it that I just continue to inspire people to be involved, inspire people to do soap drives, because we always are having different groups do soap drives to offset the price of soap. I have a bunch of high school students doing soap drives, and my volunteers do too. So that's my hope, is just to continue to speak to people like yourself, spread the word, and have organizations reach out to me and say, can you send us a box of soap sacks, or can you drop off a box? That's the other thing. I've had groups that have contacted me and they want like 100, 150, which is not feasible. It's just too expensive to ship. So I'll post it on our Facebook. Do we have any volunteers in this particular area? And someone will say, yeah, I'll drop off 100, 150. And that's where this whole community is just they're wonderful. They really are. And then yesterday, they reached out to me. It was like an hour from my house. And they're like, we really could use a couple hundred. It was a food bank. And I'm like, sure. Got in the car, drove it down there. Because we didn't have any volunteers in that area. Anything being different as far as the, what we do and the logistics of it, it's just the growth I want to see, just constantly growing. And maybe to get on a national TV show like the Ellen Show. I mean,
Right.
yeah, that would be my next. Yeah, because then I think I would get really national attention too. So that's always I always laugh about.
If Ellen is watching, please contact
Ellen,
Stacey.
please call me. Yeah, no, that's always a joke amongst my volunteers. They're like, you need to get on the Ellen Show. So that's more of a silly thing that they all talk about. So I'm always available for that.
So who is the S.A.C.K family? Like, do you consider them members of your family? This is your people?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They are. It's so interesting. My husband is the back office. So he's really a family. So he does all the back office stuff. He does all the updating the website. He got the 501c3 status and the logo and everything. And he does all the tax information. I mean, we don't take any money from it. So, but as far as the family, I do. I have to tell you, I feel so much love for these people that most of them I have never met. And we, they'll email me or, text me, but also I was just in Massachusetts, a week and a half ago, and part of it was donating soap sacks. I donated several hundred to different organizations and social service agencies. But one of our volunteers, Cindy Bailey, lives in Massachusetts, and she's just super enthusiastic. And I said, you know what, I'll kind of reroute my trip a little bit. And on my way home, I met with her for the first time and took her out for breakfast. And we had a lovely afternoon. We spent the entire day together. And then I headed back on the road. And my husband and I were in Florida last spring. And Joe King, who was probably our first volunteer, he has donated almost 9,000 soap sacks to me. He donates them strictly to me. We made sure that our trip that we were in his town. So we took he and his wife, Lainey, out for lunch and spent the day. And I do that. I'm constantly, especially the local ones, if they can't get to me to donate soap sacks, or if they have soap for me, I'll meet up with them, have coffee. So yeah, so I feel that they are part of my family, and I'm very attached to them. I really am. I mean, it's, how the fiber world is, I say these are just like fiber family. I mean, they really are. They're just, and they totally believe in our cause, and they're so passionate about it. And it's just, I'm very grateful for them. I really, because without them, we wouldn't continue, and we wouldn't be able to donate and make a difference in the lives of people in need.
Do you need anything besides soap sacks?
Yeah, I made this. This is why the soap sacks were perfect for me, because I am an advanced beginner in knitting, crocheting. I don't sew at all. So I do crochet and knit. I mean, I made this garment, which is really nothing. It's just
that's beautiful.
A simple swing top, but it has the buttons on the back. But I do. I knit. I'm not a big shawl person because it's just not my, I don't wear them, but I love making things. Like I have this tote bag pattern. So if I like a pattern, I just make it and I just keep duplicating it. Because most of my knitting and crocheting is done while I'm on the phone. So it's super easy. No one even knows I'm doing it, or watching TV. So there's like a tote bag that I make. And I love just giving it out. So if somebody does a nice gesture, whether it's SAC or a friend, I have those, and I make them for them. But I do like making clothes. They just have to be sweaters. They just have to be very easy. And yeah, I mean, like I'm looking at what you have behind there, I say I couldn't make it. I just don't know if I would have the focus to make something as beautiful as that, because I don't really like to make things where I actually have to count. So obviously, stitch markers, maybe 2 or 3 stitch markers would be it. But yeah, that's why the soap sacks were perfect for, and continue. I don't really make them anymore, the soap sacks, because I have all these volunteers to do them for me. But I do. I like making them. I'll do for people that are having babies. I'll do like a blanket corner to corner, which, as people know that crochet, which is a very easy pattern, but I'll use nicer yarn and I'll do a really nice border and stripe it. And You know how it is when people don't knit or crochet, they're amazed at everything because but for people that actually knit and crochet, they're like, oh, that's nice because they know how easy that is. Yeah. So, but yes, so that's what I do. But I always have a project going. And this, okay, so you can't see because it's from a distance. So I had COVID projects. So my one, because I was stranded at home. So this is a hook rug. So you talk about easy. How easy was that? So that's the logo. So I did that. Talk about a labor of love, but I had a lot of free time. And so, yeah, so I don't normally hook rug, but that's what that is.
So I feel like a lot of people might want to volunteer to make it, but then they would be afraid that it's going to be the same, knitting the same thing over and over, or crocheting the same thing over and over. What's your advice on like how to approach it? Like, because I'm thinking you can use even like learning how to knit, like taking a stitch dictionary and just making the entire stitch dictionary into soap sacks, like just for fun.
That would be absolutely, you know what? That's a fabulous idea. And like I was saying before, with this one volunteer, she wants to learn new stitches. And so because it only has to be, this small, or she does two squares or two rectangles and then sews them that way, instead of making it a rectangle and folding in half, she'll do two of them. So yeah, that's a great idea. If people want to take on, intarsia or take on color blocking, and they want to try and make a one that's a little more elaborate or even very elaborate, and that's a fabulous idea.
Right.
And yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be great.
I also feel like a lot of times I would I would see some design, let's say cables or something, like there's Japanese cables, right? Yeah. And I don't know if I'm ready to like do the entire scarf in Japanese cable, because that's gonna take forever and it's like difficult. But to make a soap sack, it's like something like it's a challenge, but it's an interesting challenge and it's manageable. So you can, I think like that's the beauty of it, because you can't really say who is your volunteer group. It can be somebody who's just learning. It can be children from school, and it can be very advanced knitters who want to just challenge themselves with some new pattern.
Right, because looming is very easy for kids that can't manage them with their fine motor skills. If you want me to show you, I have actually in the other room some of Petras soap sacks. So if you want me to get them, I can show you some samples. Okay, interestingly enough, I was doing an unboxing for her. So I had them in the other room, but I'll take out some of her, some of these so that you could see. Okay, so, well, this one actually looks like a corner to corner, but yes. And then this one, I don't know if you could see, she did some kind of interesting stitch. And then this one is just interesting stripe. But let me see if there's any that are right, like she did bobbles here. Like, how cute is that?
This is adorable.
She added that. Let me see about some other ones that I found. Yeah, it's hard to see some of her patterns. Like, she definitely went with some different patterns. Let me see. Yeah, she made this one look almost like a pineapple. Yeah, there's none. Oh, and then she did this one. Yeah, like in the back. So if you could see. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. She did take some on. Yeah, some of them are a little more complicated. These are definitely, yeah, they're just so pretty. Like the stitches, it's a little hard to see some of the stitches in there.
So I saw on your Instagram, you post like every once in a while, there's like volunteer of the month.
Yes.
How do you pick those? How do you decide who is the top volunteer for that period?
Right. So we have called them the Soap Sack Star of the Month, and those are for people that really go beyond. So it's either they've promoted SAC in such an exceptional way, or they have donated so many. And that's really it. I mean, these are for people that maybe have donated thousands or have started groups. So those are it. So we have that. We also have question of the month, which I do at, January 1st. So 1/1, 2/2, 3/3, March 3rd. So it's question of the month to try to involve the community. We do Fridays are unboxing days. So I unbox one of the, a donation that was sent to me, or somebody sent through our Amazon wish list. So I'll unbox that. And then I just started something new when I'm going to do the 15th of the month, which is show and tell. So people could either show a picture of anything. It doesn't even have to be a handmade item. It could be a picture of their dog, or a picture of their garden, or tell something about themselves. So we just started that this past week, and that was, so that's going to be a new one. I'm always just trying to find ways of, just keeping the community in touch with one another, feeling like they have a sense of belonging. And they've been very successful. So the soap sack stars all get a gift. So Joe King, the gentleman that I told you that made those 8,000 plus soap sacks, he has made a mini tote bag, and on the front of the tote bag is attached sack, and he has crocheted them all, and they get one of those as well as several skeins of yarn. So it's a congratulatory gift.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens to people who want to participate in it, but they just can't picture themselves making thousands of soap sacks? Like, is there a low limit? Like, can somebody just make a couple, like, and still feel like they're part of the family?
Absolutely. I mean, I have people, someone just sent me 2 in the mail, and they're like, I'm so happy to contribute. And I'm like, great, thank you so much. So, or people say, I donated 6 to my local food pantry. They're going to be happy. 6 people now could feel clean for several, I mean, could be, how many showers can you get with a bar of soap? So it does not matter. There's no minimum, there's no maximum. I mean, there's definitely some competition going on with some of our volunteers, but that's fine. But people they're almost inspired by them, but I don't want people to feel that they have to do anything more than what they feel comfortable. I appreciate every donation, whether they do it locally, they do it to us. So and that definitely is important. Thank you. Thank you for saying that, because we are really appreciative of everything. And, some people are some volunteers are on limited money also, and they can't afford that. And they can't afford to purchase the soap. So that's why they get to send it to me without the soap.
Funny to me, it seems like a perfect idea for like girls getting together parties sort of thing. Like,
oh my God, that's such a good idea. That would be great.
Or like the yarn stores have like men knitting night or something like that. It seems like such a perfect project for that, because you can probably make it in a couple hours that you're there,
Right, exactly. And have some, drinks and appetizers. One of my friends in one of my knitting groups is actually opening up a knitting store about 5 miles away next week, actually. We're really excited, Grace and Pearl. So she's going to have, a night where people are making them. But I am involved in a lot of knitting groups. Some are Zoom, but some are in person now that COVID things will lift up a bit. And I do have a lot of them that are making them. One of my group that meets, we call it, we're the Stitch and Bitch, and they make soap sacks because they said, which is what we were getting at, that because we're sitting there eating, drinking, chit-chatting, talking, nobody can make anything remotely complicated because they just mess up. So it's so funny. It could be 6 of us all making soap sacks because we're like, oh, we can do these without even focusing, especially if you're making the rectangle and folding it in half. So so I do have a lot of groups that I go to in person, many of them, and Russell from Balzac Yarn, that's how we initially got connected. And, his group that meets twice a month, second Friday of every month. Just once a month. The people are making those, and that started by John Giswold. I don't know, did you know John?
No.
Giswold that started the group? Okay, yeah. He started the Knit in the Pit group several years ago, and he passed away a year and a half ago, and Russell's taken over for him.
Well, I want to invite you to another group. So a friend of mine and I organized Knitters Gonna Knit on Facebook. And yesterday we hit 5,000 people. And I'm sure by the time this interview will air, it's gonna grow even more. But
so wonderful. Oh my goodness.
The idea of that group was to encourage promotion and encourage self-promotion, because a lot of groups don't allow that. They don't allow.
Yes, a lot don't. You're right. Even when it's a nonprofit, it's not even like we're selling anything. I mean, we have merchandise, we have, bags, we have tote bags, and we have zippered pouches, but we're not here to promote. We're just here to promote our mission. But wow, that's
I'd love to invite you there. And
yes, please. Yes, I would definitely love that. Yeah, that would be great.
Right.
And I feel, I mean, it's so funny because our volunteers say these are so addicting to make. Like they just say it's a good addiction. That's been like the funny line. So it's so nice to have you invite me so I can have more people that make them, or you just never know if they know somebody else that could help promote it too. Whether it's someone they knew in the magazine or newspaper, and because that's the only way the word's going to get out is if I continue to spread the word.
Well, that's the only reason we organized the group, because we felt like other groups were so restrictive in that sense. And honestly, like the interesting thing happened, like there's so many different kinds of people. There's yarn dyers, there are designers, there are testers who there are people who always wanted to test patterns and never knew like where to find those designers. And suddenly there's all this collaboration. And there's like beginners and there are expert knitters. And I feel like you would be perfect there with giving them an outlet to do something also useful and something.
Thank you. So how would you would just send me an invite for that?
I mean, you can just go on Facebook and type Knitters Gonna Knit, and I'll send you an invite.
Oh, good. Thank you. Oh, good. I appreciate that. I can't believe you already have 5,000.
It went fast. Like we only opened in May, so it was like
in May you got to 5,000.
We had 500 new people joining just last week. It's one of the fastest growing groups on Facebook right now.
I was going to say, you have like a magic, aura about you that you, because let me tell you, that's really, that's pretty, really impressive. Oh, that's
love
great.
To have you there as part of the group, and thank you for doing what you're doing, and thank you for being my guest
every
today.
minute. Oh, I love every minute of it. I love talking to you, and I thank you again, and hoping to keep in touch with you, Irina.
Definitely.